guys, welcome to another voiceover tutorial. This time it's gonna be a workshop on portraits, and we're gonna do this in two parts. Part 1, I will be explaining to you guys some of the fundamentals that is really helpful to know before you start painting. There's some basic stuff that needs to be learned, and I would suggest you guys practice them and get used to them before going into painting. So here we go. The first thing I'm going to talk about is basic proportion. So if you guys are new to this, I will explain. So proportion is pretty much the spacing of the nose, spacing of the eyes, the chin, etc. And usually, so basically, when I first started out portrait, I would practice these exercises just to get myself really used to the proportions. So pretty much I would draw a circle, and then I would draw a line in between the circle, and then I would then draw one line just down, connecting the circle, and then I would put down a line here, which is sort of like halfway between the top and the bottom, so the circle cuts it off midway, kind of. And we're just going to draw the jaw. Again, this is really rough, and faces can have different proportions. I'm just going to show you guys the stereotypical proportion that is preached in many art proportion books, anatomy books. So pretty much once you have the shape, you don't want to have too many guidelines, so usually just erase it. And then I'm just gonna make copies of this so you guys can look at it later. So pretty much the point of this workshop is I will be explaining it, and you guys could do it at the same time on the other side here, so to practice, and practice makes perfect, right guys? So pretty much once you have this rough shape, just go ahead and erase the inside of it to make it cleaner. Alright, and then we're going to find the middle of this face, actually the upper middle. So if this is the middle, let's mark the guideline a little bit above that, let's say here. And this is where we're gonna put our eyebrows. This is usually where I like to put the eyebrows. I'm just gonna make it really obvious for you guys. So this is the eyebrows, and notice I did not draw all the way towards the end. This is a no-no right here, because if you look at your own faces, eyebrows do not extend till there. Usually they're pretty much in the center. And then after, to guide you, so this is a landmark, and now we're going to separate this portion of the face in two, divided by 2. So in the middle should be like here somewhere, and this marks the nose. And usually the eyebrows, the extremity of the eyebrows will mark the end of the nose, so you know where the nose will end. And if we take that into account, usually I will just mark the 2 nostrils, and they will end here because the eyebrow starts here. And usually the nose, I'm not sure what this is called, but basically the nose ends where the eyebrow starts. And this is pretty much how it is. And then after we divided this by 2, which is where the nose is, we're going to divide the nose between the chin and the nose by 2 in the middle, and this is where the mouth is. So we're just going to draw a line to mark where the mouth is, and this is where the mouth is. And if you Okay, now we're going to place the eyes. I'm just gonna make another duplicate. So oops, I'm trying to select, but I forgot to select the lasso tool, and I ended up making a circle. So after that, we're gonna find the eyes, and the eyes are here. Let's make a box. Let's make a box right now. Looks like he's wearing glasses, but you'll see. It's more. So once we have the guide box, let's mark the eyes. So the eyes will start in the middle. The tear duct will start in the middle of this box, and it's going to go like this, and then it's gonna end here. And notice that the teardrop is pretty much on the same axis as where the nose ends. And yeah, I'm just gonna draw the eye shape. This is gonna look really bad at first, but so this is the eyes, and then we can draw the other eye. Or if you're really lazy, or if you want it to look perfect, you can always duplicate that eye and then just flip it and put it on. I'm going to show you because I want it to look perfect, so I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to select this eye, copy it, which is Control C, and then paste it, which is Control V. So now I paste it, and I'm going to go flip it. So edit, transform, and flip horizontally, which flips it, and now you have two perfectly symmetrical eyes. So now this is what we have. So again, we mark the eyebrows towards the upper middle part of the whole face, and then the nose would be in between the eyebrows, and the chin, which is midway through there, and then the mouth would be at the center between the nose and the chin. And you can put a little bit of lip there, you know, make him not have like super thin lips, or her, we don't know yet. And yeah, now after you have all that done, we're gonna put the ears, which is around where the eyebrow is, which is here, and then where the nose is, which is here. So the ear should be in between these two lines, like this. Again, this is really, really rough, and it might look really weird. But yeah, so this is how I used to practice proportion. Like I would take commute between home and my college, which is like an hour away, and I would be on the train for 2 hours per day back and forth, and I would practice. So now that you have everything, you can get rid of the guidelines. There we go. Gonna take all that off. And right now it looks a bit robotic, right? We can add the pupils. Let's add the pupils. You can make it as big as you want, and yeah, just for fun, you know, add something there so he doesn't look too scary. And I'm just gonna add the eye creasing here, and then the nose. Just a little sketch, and gonna give him a bit of cheekbones, you know. I guess he turned out to be a guy after all. And yeah, this is pretty much proportions for a face, the basic one, the generic one, very generic. Of course, if you look at everybody, they got different features. Like they got big, if they have a smaller nose, bigger nose, longer eyebrows, chin, or ears, etc. So the proportion will vary, but this is the basic. And usually the guy's neck is, usually male necks are pretty thick, so I would put them around here, almost. It starts almost as at the same place as where the ears are, depending on how buff the guy is. The beefer the guy is, the the less likely you'll see somewhat of a like a dip in here. I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean, right? I hope you guys know what I mean. So yeah, so this is a basic proportion of generic face, and you can use the same proportion for a girl and a guy, but they just have a few variations, which I will be explaining in the bottom half of the workshop. So this is pretty much how it starts out, and hopefully you guys will practice. If you're new to this, it's really good to practice this every chance you get, because the more you practice, the more you're used to it, and then after a while you don't even need to be using this. And yeah, now it's your turn to do it. So just while you're watching me explaining, it's good to follow along, and I hope it works out for you guys. I hope it works. So let me know if this helps or not, because I have no idea. This is my first time teaching online. Anyway, so the next exercise I'm gonna ask you guys to do is the shape exercise. Now here I showed you the basic proportion of a head, so this type of proportion can translate into any view. So keep the proportions in mind, and bring it with us in the shape exercise, which I will show you guys. So if you're really bad if you're just starting out and you want to draw a face, it's good to have like simple shapes to help you. So for example, we would have a circle for the skull, right? And then after, we could have a cube, visualizing a cube for the bottom half of the head. So this would be two shapes that can easily be used to represent the face, roughly. And you don't have to use this method, but this is one of the methods that helps artists visualize. If this is not for you, there's a lot more other ways. So pretty much I'm just gonna do the proportion marking. So again, the eyebrow should be upper middle of the whole thing. So here, and then the eyebrows, and then I'm just gonna mark the nose real quick. Here's the nose, and that nose and eyebrows is where the ears will be, which is if you flip your head and look at your profile view, your ears are actually towards the center back, which is here, towards the center back of this of the profile side of your face. So I'm just gonna draw the ear, and then of course we have the jawline. Just mark it, and then just gonna give it more of a face shape, and of course the mouth would be in the center. Gonna make it easy. Eyebrows, and you can draw the nose right here. Then this is the shape. You can use many shapes, as much shapes as you want, but keep in mind the less shape you use, the easier it's gonna be for you to keep it up, because if you have too much guidelines, it will be too much for you to keep track. It's always good to keep it simple. My teachers used to say, keep it simple, stupid. So just simplicity is the key with basics. So pretty much we have a shape here that is made from a sphere and a square cube, or rectangle cube. Yeah. And yeah, if you guys want to practice, here's another example. Again, a sphere, but this time let's create an oval. So we're gonna create an oval right here. This is the cranium. this is the oval. Ovals are pretty good for female faces because girls tend to have softer, rounder features. And then again, we mark where the eyebrows is, which is upper middle part of the face, and the nose, which is towards between the eyebrows and the chin, and the mouth is between the nose and the chin. Again, we have the eyes, which keep in mind the tear duct starts at where the nose ends. Again, this is basic proportion. You can, after you master it, you change it around and make it your own. This is a very important thing. It's good to know the basic proportions first before you go ahead and do your own thing. So after you know all the basics, it's really fun to experiment with styles and proportions. But before that, you really need to know the basic. So pretty much the eyes is here. Again, the tear duct ending at the nose bridge, and notice there is a space between here and here if you draw the front view. And if you go into the mirror and look at yourself, you'll see that your eyes don't really stick to the side of your face. It's very like in the middle. So technically, the space of one eye, if you look at yourself perfectly straight on, there is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyes that goes like straight on your face. So technically there should be space between here for another eye, and space between here for another eye, and space between here for another eye. That is one of the tricks, just measuring it. And then just gonna put some volume into that nose and some lips. And I guess this face kind of looks like a girl, so we're just gonna give her a female neck, which is, if you notice on the dude, it's very thick and it doesn't have a lot of dip between the jawbone and where the neck begins. But girls, usually their necks are pretty thinner, so they usually have more of a dip in there. So this is neck, collarbone, there we go. And that is another shape. You can pretty much use shape for anything. And now we're gonna use the square shape. Squares are pretty useful because it's easy to understand the dimensions because it's really straightforward. So we're just gonna use a sort of like a rectangle, 3D rectangle for the face. So just make that real fast. And again, you can mark the proportions, mark the eyebrows, upper, middle. We're just gonna translate that into 3D, and the middle of the eyebrows and the chin, which is where the nose is. We're just gonna translate that again in 3D, and the middle of the mouth. This is where the eyebrows is, and we mark where the ears is, which is middle back part of the head, right here. And then this is where the jawline is. The nose, I'm just gonna duplicate this so you guys can see it clearly. I'm gonna do it like step by step style. Oh, I guess I failed that. Okay, there we go. Now that you have like a decent sort of marking, you can kind of feel the volume already. C shape really does help you guys visualize. So now that you have the shape, you can kind of round it up because you know the cranium is a little round, and we'll just round that up. And we're gonna mark where the eyes is, which is here. And again, sticking with proportions, where the nose ends, the eye tear duct starts. So just mark that down and visualize the nose ends here and the tear duct starts there. So mark that down. draw a real quick jawline, and then the chin, which you can again visualize with shape chin, has this type of smushed, well, for guys anyway, smushed, like a doughy bun type of shape, like this. So just make sure to put that in there if you're drawing a guy. And then you have the jawbone here, and then just gonna make it smooth for the cranium. And the skull usually ends here around the back of the ears. It's not too round. It's actually pretty kind of squarish, and it ends like around here where the jawbone starts. I guess this is a guy, so we're just gonna make the neck, which starts here. The guy usually has a bottom Adam's apple, and then I'm just gonna create that there. Don't worry about the neck, we'll get to that at some point. Right now we're focusing on proportions and how to demonstrate volume. And right now it looks weird because I don't usually use guidelines because I practice so much. I'm just like, oh, I'm so fed up with it. I mean, after you practice a while, you basically you don't need it anymore, and when you go back, I'm kind of rusty. But basically, this is what I used to do a lot during my transit time. I would just be on the train doing this. So that's for the shape exercise, and I would recommend you guys practicing a little bit of this because it really helps you. Now we're going to go on to volume exercises. So volume exercise for me is pretty much just putting on shadow to show volume. It's for me anyways, it's to put the shading as well as showing dimension. So volume is kind of like this, where you kind of see it extending into perspective like this, sort of. And you can see multiple shapes, multiple sides. So you have the front, and then you have the side of the head. Just gonna do a real quick demo. So we can start with the shape exercise where we started off, where we left off. So I'm just gonna create a circle real fast, and then again I'm gonna mark the proportions. The landmarks here will be my eyebrows, my nose, my chin, and then I'm just gonna show some volume and mark the ears, which is like middle last of the head, and then the jawline. If you look at this, it should match up. It's good to visualize. So this would be volume because you can see more than two sides of an object. It's more dynamic in terms of volume if you draw 3/4 views, because you can clearly see the two sides of the face. And then we'll just we can have the nose here, and then the lips, the eyebrows, again the nose, nostril ends, and the tear duct of the eyes begins right here. Of course, you can make your nose better, like more refined. You can make it more refined. So now we have somewhat of a volume. Again, there's more than two sides, and you can even see a bit of the skull, upper head right here. And again, it's very useful if you're not used to drawing painting from just straight on. It's good to have guidelines. So after you have somewhat of, oh god, his or her neck is a little weird. I'm just gonna fix that. He's gonna be turning his head. So after you have something like this where you can roughly see somewhat of a volume from your lines, this is where you start shading it. Actually, I'm just gonna fix his face a little bit, make his eyes a little bit, oh my god, duplicated by mistake. So basically what I'm doing is I'm fixing up real fast by using the transformation tool, which you can access by going here, edit, transform, and these are the options that you can choose to however you want to transform your drawing by. And sometimes it's really easy to access if you just use the lasso tool, select it, and then you press Ctrl T, which is shortcut for transform, and you can transform really easily. And now his eyes are bigger. I'm just gonna move the ear slightly. Just gonna use the same transformation, and I'm just gonna put it here. There we go. I think that looks slightly better. And now I'm just gonna show you guys how to shade. I guess how I shade. So gonna use the liner, put a layer on, make a new layer and put it on the bottom, and select a slight shade color just to demonstrate the volume. So I want to demonstrate that it has more than one side, which is there's the front side and there's the profile side or the back side of the face, and there's volume. So I'm just gonna demonstrate it, and you can see very clearly now that there is volume. And of course there is a dent in the eyes. I'm just gonna put some shadow down there. And then the nose is sticking out, so I'm just gonna put some shadow down there to show that it's sticking out of the face. And you can kind of get an impression. So pretty much, if you're wondering how I know where to put the shadow and light, I had a lot of practice. I would often look at photographs, look at other artists' drawing, and I would pick up naturally, like it would be in the back of my mind. And I would just, sometimes I would try it out. Sometimes if I remember something, I'm gonna try it. And yeah, it's also useful to have a photo reference near you. If you don't know where the shadow or light goes, you just refer back to it. So this is a basic path. And if you want to get a little more detail, you can do that. Just gonna copy and paste and show you guys. So right now we have a very basic path of shadow, but you can definitely elaborate and make it look more 3D. So again, focusing on demonstrating more than one side. So now I'm adding a little more dimension to the face by making the jawline pop out a little more by putting a little bit more shadow underneath it. And I'm just gonna highlight some of the features like the jaw, collarbone, the ears, and then if he has really nice cheekbones, maybe accentuate that a little bit by putting a little bit more shadow. So pretty much the cheekbone should connect with the ear right here, so you can see that. And there is kind of an indent in our skull, so usually if you want to paint a bald guy or girl, you can demonstrate somewhat of a dent by putting a little bit of shadow there, not too much. But yeah, you can start to see the volume starting to form, and I'm just gonna put a bit of volume on the lips by putting a little bit of shadow up here, which kind of looks like lips, and then down here, which if you look at your lips, it kind of casts a shadow, so that's what that is. And yeah. you can see kind of it adds a little bit of volume. It's good to practice, so you guys can practice this maybe a few hours a day. I'm just kidding. Well, that's what I did. I used to draw a lot. That's why if we ever meet and you look at my hands, you'll see that one of my hands is really messed up looking. I mean, one of my fingers is really messed up because I used it so much, and the tablet pen created like indent on one of my fingers. So yeah, I'm just gonna further put some more shadow. You know, it's all about layering shadows. So just keep on layering until you get like this nice effect, nice 3D effect. And now that you have that, that's pretty much it. If you remove that, it kind of looks like a face. And this is how painting is. It's all about showing volume through shadow and lighting. But anyways, now that we have all this, let's move on to the angle exercise. If you guys are wondering how you can do how to create faces in multiple angles and how you can go about it, I actually had a lot of difficulties learning this. I'm actually not the best person to go to for guidelines, because I usually don't like guidelines, because I don't know, I just don't work well with them. But if you're starting out, it's definitely recommended to use guidelines. So I'm just gonna show you guys real fast how I learned how to do angle. So pretty much we'll have a circle. Let's say you want the face to go upwards. We'll just create a line of action like this, because I want her to look up, or him. And I'm just gonna, oh god, how do I explain this? So pretend this is the whole face. So based on the proportions here, if you guys remember, let's translate that into a different space. So pretty much, let's say the middle is here, and now you have all this space to put the nose. Where is the nose? I'm gonna put it here because it's looking up. And usually when you demonstrate someone looking up, it's a good shape to put like a triangle for the nose, so you kind of feel like, oh, he's pointing up, his nose is pointing up. And now you have the nose. And the mouth, we will put it here. So the mouth, it can't go like this because he's looking up. If you want to show a little bit of like, oh, he's looking up, we're gonna push the line downwards like this, the triangle, both lines going this way. So the mouth also goes that way. So everything goes this way, like the edges of features. And now we're just gonna put a little bit of volume on the lips. So now you kind of see that, oh, I think he looks up. He's looking up. Now we're just gonna create the eyes, which just draw a guideline. This is where the eyebrows is. The eyes usually is down here, and usually I like to demonstrate the volume by drawing like a big triangle to show the dips of the eyes, and you can kind of shade that in a little bit. And now we're gonna go for the cheeks, which is like this. And then again for the chin. Depending on how you look up, the chin could either be popping out, or like it could be kind of like the same shape where everything's going down, or it's like this, which I think is what we're gonna use. And then we're just gonna mark the ears, which is here. Again, it should be where the nose and the eyes are, on the same axis. So here, and then So you can visualize the side the jawline ends here as well. And then we can draw the neck. I'm just gonna put some lines to show that show some anatomy. And all this is I learned all this from just looking at pictures. It's good to observe. It's very good to observe pictures. I would just go on Tumblr and look up like pictures of random people, and you'll kind of pick up as you go along naturally by looking at references, and usually they stay in your head unconsciously and you just sleep on it and you just think about it. You don't have to practice all the time, but just think about it and visualize how you're gonna do it. So yeah, this is one angle of how I approach it, and hopefully it's useful for you guys. I'm just gonna add a little bit of cheekbone right here. And again, to show volume, we can put some side shadows here and here, just to show that there's more than one side to this face. And yeah, you can also use different geometric shapes like I demonstrated here to help you with different angles. So let's say the girl or the guy is looking down. We can use a square or rectangle square, 3D rectangle. So we can make a surface like this. Let's say this is the top of the guy or the girl's head, and then it goes down like this because the person's looking down. And again, let's put some proportions in there. So obviously, when you look at proportions in an angle, it is distorted. So we have to accommodate. So since it's looking down, his eyebrows are gonna be a little bit down here, and then his nose is gonna be a little bit down here as well. And the space between the mouth and the chin gets smaller. So pretty much kind of like this. We're just gonna draw the guidelines for the ears. Oh, you have to keep in mind the eyebrows, where the eyebrow starts and where the nose starts. Just create the guideline and then put the ears where the guidelines lays. And then, yep, and then here's the eyebrow, here's the nose. And again, usually I like to show the crease of the eyes by drawing like this type of square-ish triangles. Again, make sure that the nostrils end where the tear duct starts, so you gotta calculate it. And then the cheekbones, make sure it's lined up, make sure stuff is lined up. And then, oh my goodness, I wish I could have done the step-by-step style. So yeah, I'm just gonna put the neck. Man, my stuff is so messy. I am not the best person to go to for this type of guidelines, but I still hope that you guys will. If you don't know this, I guess it could be helpful, but if you know this, then power to you. But yeah, so this is, you can use it like you can use basic geometrical shapes as guidelines. So again, we can shade it like this. Oh, you can also, if you feel that something's weird, you can again transform by pressing Ctrl T, which allows you to transform. And after you get this option, right, you get this square that appears, and you can also right click and it will give you these these options. So these are the different type of transformation you can do. I actually really like the warp option because it allows you to kind of manipulate more organically how you want stuff to look. So as you can see, each of these little dots, little intersection is like a joint that you can move, and it will kind of help you modify the look of whatever you want to draw. Yeah, and here we go. Man, this looks really bad, but you guys get the basics, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna put the lip real fast down here. I guess he could be smiling. There we go. So we have the angle exercise. Alright, I'm gonna show you guys one more example just so you can follow along and practice. So now for the last angle, what can we do here? I do enjoy making people look up because it kind of makes I don't know, I like the shape of the face when people look up. So pretty much we can do that. And again, let's try something new. So if you don't want to follow the guidelines, you could also use basic shapes like this as I did before. So you can represent the nose with a triangle, and then let's put a guideline for the eyebrows. So let's say the eyebrows are here like this, and again we're making guidelines. Make sure the lips are in the middle between the nose and the chin. So now we have the chin, the nose, the lips, and the eyebrows. And let's create somewhat of a guideline for the eyes. If you notice, we have a dip here, like the dip for the eyebrows. So it goes down here, and then I drew a line kind of going the other way to demonstrate that a different plane is taking place. So here, and we're just gonna mark the middle here, and then we can have the skull like this. And again, the eyebrows are kind of towards the middle upper part of the entire shape, as we discussed on the proportion exercise. And then I'm just gonna give him a little bit of a cheekbone, and then connect it towards the end. And guys tend to have more square-ish jaws. Of course there are exceptions, but that is the stereotype guy face. I'm just gonna create a plane. Again, the guideline, the eyebrows, line it up, the nose, line it up. This is where the ears are. It's kind of towards the, if you look at this, separate this side towards the middle back of the head. I'm just gonna paint that in. Then again, let's give him a jaw and the neck. Yep. Then once we have a decent shape that you kind of like, well, I think the nose can be fixed a little. Of course, there is some tweaking here and there. You can tweak that really easily by again going to transform, Control T, and right click and select warp, which allows you to manipulate the lines organically. Just gonna put that over there a little bit. Then put this guy here, and then I'm gonna show you guys, you can now put some more details, refine this guy a little bit. Let's create the white of his eyes by just erasing the eye shape from the shadows, and then erasing some of the guidelines. Just gonna make the sketch a little cleaner. So now you can see the nose is right here, the eyelids are here, and the eyes is there. There we go. And the nose, you can erase this dark circle just a little bit. Now you still have a shade here, and you can just put the nostrils here. Again, obviously, this is just an example of my style. You can have your own style. If you're not sure, you can. If you're not sure how to draw a nose, just look at your own, or just look up a picture and see how exactly the nostril should be positioned. This is just how I usually position my nostrils at this view. And then we're just gonna give him a little bit of shading down here. Again, to demonstrate that it's got more than one side, it's got two sides. Just gonna shade it up a little bit. Add some more shadow here. Some shadow there, some shadow here. Some shadow here. Don't forget the shadow underneath the lips to show dimension. So yeah. Obviously there are views, there are angles that you will be better at than others, and if you're not good at one angle, I suggest that you guys practice more on that angle, because I honestly used to be really bad at this type of angle, like 3/4 looking up. So then I would practice that angle every day and got better at it. But sadly I kind of neglected my other angle practices. But it's always good to try new angles. Just try new things in general, because if you keep doing new things, it will really broaden your experience, and you'll be able to do a lot of other things. You'll realize that you can do a lot more than you can, and that really helps to boost your confidence. And so I would highly encourage you guys to try a lot of different proportions, face proportions. So now I'm gonna talk about male versus female. What is the difference? Well, there's really not that much difference, just slight ones. For example, I'm just gonna make a really generic face. So pretty much, let's have a very androgynous head. I'm just gonna do it real fast, and again using the guidelines. Obviously, if you already know this, you don't have to use the guidelines. Like, I usually don't use guidelines because I already know this, and I find that it's kind of time consuming. But if you're just starting out, and it's really important, I cannot stress this enough. You have to work hard to reap the rewards. So after you just chill and do it freehand. But before that, you really, oh my god, this is looking like a dude. Okay, I'm just gonna make it a little more generic. Oh, actually, I can do the dude version and the girl version after. So, okay, I'm just gonna draw the dude version first. Make it an elf, because elves are pretty nice, pretty cool. So we have a face, and this is typically what when we say a guy, we would picture him to have thick eyebrows, thin lips, kind of a long nose, and a very squarish jaw. This is basically a very stereotypical guy look. Like, if you want to draw a guy, this is usually what you see. So this is a guy face. We got the eyebrows, the cheekbones, square cheekbones, very square. how do we transform this guy into a girl? I'm just gonna duplicate it real fast. And we can just put this down real, make it like barely visible, turn the opacity down. You can practice along with me, like just quickly, well not quickly, but draw up with lines a face that is typically considered male. And we can do this fun exercise, just copy paste the same layer, make it almost transparent, add another layer on top, and we can go over it with a color, just making a female. So a girl typically has, if you look at the stereotypical cute girl, she has a larger cranium. She has a rounder cranium, actually. And her eyebrows are a lot thinner, and usually they are angled up like this. They're really angled up. And her whole feature is softer, like more rounder. So the nose would be, I would probably make it arch a little bit and make her have like a pointier nose. Again, this is stereotypical cute girl look. And you can obviously have a lot of other looks, but this is the stereotypical cute girl look. And usually girls' cheeks are rounder and poofier. So there's that, and their eyes are bigger. So I'm just gonna make her eyes a little bigger. And the really easy way to make the differentiate is just to give her a little bit of a makeup eyeliner, just like cat eyes. This is usually what I do because I really love cat eyes. Just give her that makeup. And her lips are gonna be poofy. So again, the lips are more round and poofy. So like this. Make it poofier. And instead of having her chin all the way down here, usually if you want to make it really easy to distinguish between a dude and a girl, make her chin a little bit shorter, like almost here. Like her chin is almost like, it's not even proportionally ideally correct, you know, it's not like half. It's really small. So you can see the guy's chin is really large, but girls' chins are really tiny, and then it's usually the jawline is very smooth and kind of looks like a heart, like this. It looks like a heart. But yeah. Then again, you have the ears and the cranium, but this time the neck, girl's neck will be thinner, so let's stretch the neck a bit further, and her neck would be a lot thinner, let's just say a lot thinner. We have the neck tendon, and then that's pretty much what a stereotypical girl proportion will look like. So in general, just really a bigger, sort of rounder cranium. The eyebrows are angled thinner. The eyes are bigger. The nose are softer, rounder, and the lips are bigger and softer. Again, there's obviously exceptions, and you can always practice. Like, for example, if we duplicate this random girl's face, lower the opacity, and we can make another. Let's just say this is the exception. Some girls, they would have really thick eyebrows, which for me, I think like slightly bushier eyebrows give the look of youth a little more. And we can make her nose a little pointier like this. Then the eyes smaller, but at the same time you still have that cat makeup eyes. cheeks will be smaller. Her lips are gonna be thinner. See, you don't have to make it like stereotypically cute to make her look like a lady. A good trick is just to add somewhat of a makeup look. So either nice twist eyebrows or just like super fabulous cat makeup eyeliner. And again, can make her jawline a little square. See, she still looks like a girl. It's just her features are a little more delicate, you can say. And we can add the skull. But the neck should be still kind of thin, because usually dude necks are pretty thick. Or guy necks. I don't know why I'm calling it dude necks. Anyways, so hope that helps. Again, guys can also look girly, and to be honest, girl and guy faces are pretty, like, it's a thin line. What makes a girl look like a dude? Well, how to turn a girl into a dude. I mean, if you look at mangas, the male characters are pretty androgynous and feminine. It really depends on, it doesn't, the body, the makeup, the way it's colored, you know. I mean, if I randomly put a mustache on my girl, you know, and then give her like a Adam's apple, and then maybe short hair, and like take off the cat eyes, kind of looks like a dude, right? So yeah, it's a very thin line between guy and girl. And I hope that explains it. I'm just gonna go over it and shade it real fast. Just again to recap about the volume. So again, we want to show that there is more than one side. Let's shade it real fast. Then there's shadow underneath the eyes, the nose, the lips. Here too. Let's give her some volume. Eyes, nose, lips. And here too. Eyes, chins, everything. Alright. Let's do it real fast. Like this. Pretty much we have that. And now, a lot of you have requested this skin tone. What is skin tone and how do I pick it? How do you pick it? Actually, it's not as hard as you think. I mean, I can do a whole course on color theory and all that, and yes, it's really useful to know, but do we really need to remember all those terms? To be honest, I'm not one for color theories. I've never ever learned it. I've always just based it off of my own tuition and the world around me, because if you look at your skin, it can tell you a lot about colors. If you look at a real human skin, it's got different tones, different shades and such. And here's my logic, here's how I pick. So basically, when we first start to color face, first we're gonna have to just do a really rough outline of a face to get started. So use all the stuff we just talked about and do your best to make a random face that you want to color. So I don't know what I'm gonna try. I'm just gonna try and we'll see how it goes. This is usually how I do it. I don't really use guidelines because I've done it for like 2 years on the train on my work to school. And just I worked, practice, and practice, and practice, and finally paid off. Now I don't have to use guidelines. But if you guys still are new to it, or if you are still not sure, definitely use guidelines. It will be very useful, and at least you'll know that you are somewhat right. So I guess it's a dude. Well, actually, we can make it a girl if we want to, you know? Just give her a little bit of a cat eyeliner, you know? Make her nose a little bit pointier and make her cheeks a little bit poofier, rounder, smoother. Have her chin a little smaller. Have her jawline a little pointier. You know, that sort of thing. And let's give her, let's see what kind of hair. I'll just make nice hair. But since we're kind of focusing on the skin, I'm not gonna focus a lot on the hair. Just gonna, I kind of like girls with short hairs, I think. Short hairs look good on girls. And then her neck looks a little weird. Just gonna fix that real fast. And then we have this. So now I have a face. You can transform it however you like with the Control Transform tool. And if you want to make her nose a little smaller, you can do that. Control Transform. And if you want to make her jawline a little bit more delicate, you can Control Transform that too. May even warp it a little bit to make it more smaller. Maybe make her eyes a little bigger, you know? And her give her a little bit of an attitude. Have her raise one of the eyebrows. Very iconic of Elsa from Frozen. I think I really learned from that movie in terms of character design, like how to give your character personality. Easy, just raise one of their eyebrows, you know. That's pretty attitude. So now we have a rough line of the character. We can move on to second stage, which is, so to start, usually I would go in here. Your skin color can be any color. The most important thing is to make sure the color is not too saturated, not too bright, not too dark, just in the middle. Like we want a really nice neutral middle color like this. And once you establish this color, if you want to change your skin color, you can like just play around with this. And then, okay, let's say I want her to have gray skin. Oh, it's right here. I picked the color. And or like if you want it super pink, it's right here. Again, make sure that it's kind of like a middle-ish, not too bright, not too dark sort of color in between here. Or you can just remember where I put my cursor, which is kind of like here. And this is the base color, which we will start with. So not too dark and not too light. It's a perfect base color. So this base color will be good to get started because you can add shadow and you can add highlights to it after. So now we have like a base color. We're gonna add a little bit of shadow to it. So the base color is here. How do I add shadow? Just move the little circle a little bit down here towards over here, because sometimes in the shadow the colors become more saturated. So saturation is this side and non-saturation is this side where it becomes all colorless. So just move it a little down here darker, but at the same time with just a little bit of saturation. You just gonna click OK, and we're just gonna again show volume, right? Showing volume, and trying just to show that there's more than one side and everything is not flat. So after we have that, it's pretty much just the same process over and over again. So after that, we can pick another darker color, and again we're going to more saturated but at the same time more dark. So once we have that color, we're going back and we're putting on more shade. So trying to make it look 3D. And again, if you don't know where to put the shadow, it's always good to use a photo reference. If you look at photos, it will really help you. And yeah, we're just gonna use photo. Just gonna demonstrate the volume a little more. And once you kind of have a satisfactory kind of look, you wanna start adding. Again, I didn't bring this up, but basically you have to blend it as you go along by using the eyedrop tool, which is very, if you want a shortcut, the shortcut is if you press Alt, it will bring up the eyedrop tool and you click on it, you release Alt, and then it goes back to your brush. And this is how you can blend really fast by using that shortcut, if you guys know that. Just gonna keep shading, keep putting volume. And if you're painting by a line art, sometimes I would just turn the liner down a lot. So now you can see the full painting, and this is actually a good technique if you want to transition from line art to painting. Just as you go along, like adding shadow and stuff, just make the lines see through, turn down the opacity, you know? And just gonna make like underline the shadow, and now you have a face. So this is how you go about layering volume. Just keep on layering, keep on blending, and repeat. It's pretty much a repeated action, pretty much. Alright. I'm just gonna make the eyes stand out a little more. And let's give her blue eyes. I love blue eyes, they're so pretty. Now that we have that, we can put the highlights, which again, with the neutral color, this is the base color. For the highlight, usually I tend to go up towards the lighter and desaturated color. So you're gonna drag your color up a little bit towards this side, and you're gonna click OK, and this is your highlight. Just put it on there, put it on the area where the lights is gonna hit the face. Again, this is not a tutorial on shadow and highlights, but this is just an example of how I pick skin tones. And again, if you're having trouble putting the shadow and the highlights, it's really helpful to look at reference pictures. So we're just gonna put that. Yes, I know it looks a little weird right now, bear with me. And again, you can try different looks of shadow highlight to create different looks. You can pretty much sculpt her face with shadow and highlights. This is how it's done. I'm just gonna go real quick and paint her hair real fast. I like pink, so let's give her pink hair. Just gonna do it real fast. Alright. Now comes the fun part. Now that you have this, sometimes I would think, oh, the color's not right. I usually try going here, go to image, auto contrast. So it kind of auto contrasts the face, but you don't need to keep it, you can undo it. Or, auto contrast, and then if you think that's too much, you can fade it out a little bit. And lock the layer. Now I'm just going to go to dodge and gonna put the range mode to medium tone, which allows it to bring up the brightness a little bit without making it look like super dodged up. And now we have this, and we're gonna go with the blur tool. Again, this is just a technique. Put the scatter on. This will give like a really nice soft shading effect. Makes everything really soft. So this is the equivalent of the smudge tool in Paint Tool Side. Paint Tool Side program has a really powerful smudge tool, but you can basically do the same with Photoshop with smudge, but with scatter on. So now you have this. Now it's the fun part where you get to put the blush of the skin. So basically we have the basic tone, which is really neutral. By putting the blush is basically putting on a little red, but at the same time in the more saturated area. So we're just gonna drag that over here a little bit and use the airbrush. And we're just gonna brush that on really lightly on the area of the face where you see the most blush, which is the nose, the cheeks, and of course the lips. Yeah, you kind of see it there. You kind of see it there. The blush is coming through. So obviously if you want a more natural look, it should be very subtle, but if you want a more makeup look, you can go a little crazier. So that's that. I'm gonna put some shadow in here underneath the eyes. Highlight the brow bone a little bit, because if you look at usually girls with makeup, they are very good at highlighting their high points of the face, low points of the face. So they would often have a really bright contrast here. And just gonna make the hair lighter a little bit. So this is how I pick skin tones. Again, with the same principle, you can make the skin tone into any color you want. Any color. And after you think you're finished, you can always edit it. If you need more control, you can make the skin lighter, darker, you know, whatever. You can play with it. And then I'm just gonna go in here, hue saturation, turn down the saturation a little bit. And if I want to have a different skin color, I could just use hue saturation option, just manipulate the slider to make the skin different color. It's very easy. Once you have one skin tone down, you can pretty much manipulate it into whatever other color you want. So yeah, hope you guys learned a lot. Hope it was really helpful. Sorry I couldn't cover a lot. It's a lot to take in, but these are the stuff that you really need to learn if you want to pursue character design. And for sure, I'm actually thinking of doing a concept art workshop, because got a few tricks. I learned a lot. I was actually concept artist for BioWare for 2 years, and I learned a lot there. There's a lot of tricks that goes into concepting, and I don't know, some of it you might not know, some of it you might know, but basically when it comes to concept art, the faster you can do something, the more valuable you are. Like, the faster and the better the quality you get, the more valuable you are to the company. So I learned a few tricks to increase my speed and such, and I'm thinking of creating a workshop for that, maybe sometime in the future, you know? If you guys are interested, I think it would be pretty fun. And yeah, I'm just gonna refine it a little bit. And of course, the last thing I usually like to do is add the highlight, like the speckle. So I usually take a white color and just add a little bit of highlights around the tip of the face where usually you would see highlight. If you put water on you and put yourself under a lamp, you can kind of see like the shiny bits, shiny highlight of your face, and that would be a really good reference point if you're not sure where to put the highlights. So we're just gonna put that, and now you can kind of see she has the highlight up and everything. And of course you can put a highlight in her eyes too, just to give her more life. See? Now it looks like she's kind of looking at you. Anyways, so that's that. Last trick. If you're finalizing a face, it's always good to make sure the lines aren't very visible if you're trying to go for a painterly look. So I'm just gonna put the mode to multiply and just gonna go in and paint the line art different color so that it's lighter, less noticeable. Now it kind of looks like it's barely noticeable, and then usually after you think you have kind of a good base, you can merge the line art in with your color base, and see how different it is with and without the shading. So it's very powerful depending on how you shade someone's face or the line art. It can really look different. I usually like to constrain my lines to the color so that it's clean and I know everything is inside, nothing's poking out, the lines are poking out. So now you can just go in and just make some extra details, you know? And like that, like this, like that. Add some highlights here and there. Highlight the eyes, highlight the nose. Put some shine on those lips. Again, I'm doing this with one brush, which is this brush right here. And do you guys see this slider, the hardness slider? It's really useful. So if it's at 100%, your brush will turn out to be really solid. And if you turn it down, it's basically like the airbrush. So you can adjust how much you want it to look like the airbrush and whatnot, and it gives you different blending look. So just play around with that. You guys will have a lot of fun, because I know I did. I think I discovered it just this year through a friend, and it really, really opened a lot of doors for me. I was like, holy crap, it's so awesome. It's super easy to blend with this brush. So yeah, I'm just gonna go in and do a few more rendering. Yep. Go. Have her makeup done, her lips, highlight. There we go. Oh, I think I'm just gonna I did is, in order to change the color, you can go to brush mode, color, and that will automatically, without creating new layer to have special effect, you can go into the brush mode, which allows you to apply the effect directly through brushes. So yeah, now we have a face, and hope that was very helpful for you guys. Again, I have to do a recap. So how you pick the color is a neutral sort of medium color, which will be the base. So not too dark, not too light, it's gonna be a base. And then we're gonna go for the shadow, which is somewhat in the saturated area but darker. So here, and then again more shadow as you go along. You can make it darker, more saturated, you know. And then the highlight would be towards the less saturation, more light here. Oops, that's not the color. Here, and this, and then the color white, you know, for highlights and stuff. So that is the range that I use. That is the formula that I stand by. And then afterwards, you can probably have somewhat of a blush. Or not, add a bit of flesh color to the whole thing, like add a little bit of variation. That's that. Hope that was helpful for you guys. So this is part 1, where I explained a lot of basic stuff that is very useful to know before you actually consider going on with the portrait painting stuff, or portrait with line art, doesn't matter. But all this, the proportion, shape, volume, angle, everything's important. The last part would be the color, because after you have a base, everything's solid, adding color is just a bonus to make it more pretty or more fabulous. So yeah, hope that was helpful to you guys, and see you guys in the next voiceover tutorial, which I'm gonna do after this one. It's gonna be Portrait 101 Part 2, and I'm just gonna give you guys a demonstration on thought process of portrait painting, like more, I guess, how we have on how I paint colors, but this time I'm going to explain how to paint colors for the eyes, the hair, and whatever else I can think of. I'm still going about it as I go along. So yeah, hope you guys learn something here. And keep on practicing, because practice makes almost perfect, and just keep on practicing and keep it up. Don't lose your passion. And yeah, practice. See you guys. Take care.